watching the clock, 10,000 hours go by. I keep putting in work, the tears are filling my eyes. I swear I've never been tested like this, but this is mine. It's not a matter of chance, just a matter of time. Never look back. If something standing in my way, I always push back. If something seemed impossible, I never took that. Nah, cause now I know better. Can't stop, won't stop, I won't quit ever. Take me, the highest fall, it won't break me. The blood and sweat is what made me. I'ma get mine, just a matter of time.
Today's matchup: KT Rolster, GenG, Hanwha Life Esports, Afrika Freaks, The Fantastic Run.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another day of OGN LCK. I'm Achilleos, that's Papa Smithy, and man, let's just get it out of the way. That intro, stunning.
Yeah, we saw it for the first time in the rehearsal today, guys. The 16th and final regular season OGN intro. Started in 2012 spring, over six years ago. And here we are 6 years later. It'll be right next year, but do enjoy the little nods to the history there. And also the fantastic run that embodies this season, because we're still at the start. It's only week number 2. We got 2 great teams in our first match, including our world champions, who finally are on the up.
Yeah, that's true. It's going to be KT going up against GenG. KT not as strong so far at the start of the summer split here as we might have expected given their performance in spring and just historically. But GenG have been trending upward, but they need a 2-0 if they even want to tie the rookie squad of Griffin, who are currently occupying that sole possession of first place.
And look, that's a nice hype story for the day, but realistically, it's been an easy run for Griffin, a much more difficult one for GenG. I think GenG is just going to be happy for a victory, and for KT, even though they won earlier this week, I know a lot of people that watched it, it wasn't the immaculate run that perhaps people talked about in the post-game thread.
Really threw against BBQ.
It was pretty awful performance against BBQ, and I think for their fans, they need to see a victory here just to really get their sales going, because I'm sure right now KT fans are not very excited.
Definitely not, which is, maybe good for them. It's a nice little adjustment, getting too excited in the past, and that has costed them quite a bit historically. We'll go ahead and take a look at some data so far that has been amassed from the games. 24 thus far, ranged ADCs versus melee ADCs.
And that's kind of the thing, is that the win rate here for the Ezreal is high, but to be honest, things like the Tahm Kench need to be talked about, as Tahm Kench's win rate is pretty insane this season. People are experimenting with marksmen and bruisers. We see a lot of rough bruiser play because, of course, people are new to those champions, especially in the bot lane role. This will be a very interesting graphic at the end of the season, but the big takeaway is, when in doubt, why not Ezreal?
Yeah, I mean, this is just strictly against the melee opponents in the bottom lane. This is not the overall win rate, in case you guys aren't reading everything on the graph, because we know that Kai'Sa's win rate is a lot higher than 50%. She has been tearing it up in the bottom lane. Just pull all your resources into her and carry on the back of that Kai'Sa. But these are the standings thus far. Griffin going to be in the top spot. GenG right behind them, looking for that victory here today against KT, who currently find themselves in that 7th place spot. Still do have a positive scoreline, and man, it drops off a damn cliff after there, because then you have SKT in 8th with -7.
7 teams for now in the run for the top 5. 3 who are really worried about relegation. Will that still be the story in a month's time? Doesn't matter, because today we open up with a banger. It's KT Rolster versus GenG, formerly KSV, formerly Samsung, and also the team that has always, at the pinch, been the ones to shut down KT. And this man It makes his first start in a while. Score will be playing game number 1.
Yeah, no kind boy here to be seen in game 1. Score will be coming back in. I know that you've been crying out for this, to see Score return onto the starting roster, and we'll see if that's going to be enough to put KT over the finish line. You can see Mata already kind of meditating their head in his hands. Might be seeing more of that later today if KT can't come up with a win.
Rush is definitely the people's champion when it comes to the global viewers, and I think he has an important role to play in this squad. But if they're losing game 1s, they need to be willing to sub in Score. They'll open with Score today, need some games under his belt. That experience might help him, especially against Haru, who's been on a tear, but a smart pathing jungler like Score might be able to shut him down.
Yeah, have not seen Ambition since the first game of the season. It's been Haru ever since. It's been working out wonderfully thus far from GenG. We did see a momentary little stop-in from Mong in the top lane, but Cuvée, of course, going to be coming back in after that Game 2 loss to HLE. On Live Esports, Cuvée will be starting back in. Haru has really cemented himself as the starting jungler here for the side of GenG. A bit of a flip, a complete 180 from what we've seen in the past, where Haru was really struggling and Ambition was always the one to get the victories for GenG.
Back to spring 2017, where Haru was popping off. His Rengar is a pick that if a couple of junglers are taken away, thinking of specifically Camille, maybe even a Xin Zhao, suddenly the Rengar comes out. Mong kind of had the unfortunate debut where he debuted against Hanwha Life Esports, successfully playing the funnel, the Kai'Sa comp, and looked a bit out of sorts on the Jax, even though it's the main for him. Looking over at the season so far, the run and the losses for KT aren't necessarily ones to shake your fingers at. They lost to FLICKR, Kingzone, the two teams that played in the LCK Spring Final. But the BBQ series was not one to smile about. They're going to be wanting a better level of performance today. As you can see, that even though we're at their 5th match, GenG still off the charts.
Yeah, not quite as crazy as our last KDA that you and I shared together last week, but still going to be pretty damn impressive here for the side of GenG, just completely swallowing KT here. But yeah, KT, they need the bounce back. This is where it could begin, because historically, of course, you think back to the days of Samsung versus KT, they have always had the upper hand. Wasn't until the end of 2016 when Samsung was finally able to beat KT Rolster, make their way into the World Championship. But now, we might be trending in the opposite direction.
In the regular season, in the LCK, traditionally it's KT, but when it mattered, traditionally it was Samsung. As we look over the core play, it's Core GG on your screen. It may say Jungjon or JJ as they write there, but Core GG is what he is this season. And when they get Ezreal, Tahm Kench, that you have no doubt heard me moan about many times, Achilleos, on the blue side, they get these two, they put them together. He's 6-0 on Tahm Kench, and the duo is 5-0.
Yeah, they have been crushing it. Roller, of course, even just refusing to play. You know, these casters, these melee ADCs, I'll put the inverted commas on that one, in the bot lane has just been going straight up for the standard ADC picks. But key position is going to be in the mid lane here for this match. Daddy Yukal, as you touted him, of course, going to be starting. The Pawn is here today, not on the roster list at all, but Pawn is here to support the team.
It's a hard kind of time for me because Daddy right now is underperforming. He's being fallible. I'm not sure if I'm ready for my Papa to be fallible.
He went out to buy cigarettes and he hasn't come back yet.
He's still here, at least ostensibly, but Yukal is there, and it's a first-time matchup. Yukal and Fly have never faced off against each other. Different generations. When it comes to the LCK, the match prediction, KT have the bigger fan base, but look at this. 2/3 of people think GenG will win. And based on what you've seen on the Rift, it's the right prediction.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to give the upper hand here to GenG. KT just hasn't been as impressive as we expected from them here in the Summer Split. See if they can turn this season around starting here today versus GenG. If they come up with a victory, especially a 2-0, it'd be so very impressive and reinstill hope into the KT Rolster fandom. Well, hopefully not any excitement instilled off the back of that victory. We'll see what happens here, though. But Coach is in the booth. Zoom in on the logos. I think we're ready for pick and ban of game 1, Papa.
Excited for this one. KT, not in any sort of form, but here is Score, and here is definitely a time to build up their fan expectations. And it's not KT if the roller coaster doesn't go up and down at different parts of the season. Speaking of going down, no one is going to get to play Swain in this first game. GenG showing respect. It's a flex pick now after FLICKR able to pilot in the bot lane successfully against Kingzone. We already see the Swain ban, Nocturne banned, and good old Score as well. Probably would have been mad at Rush, given that he has been playing it. Also, already, a lot of the first-round junglers have been taken out.
Just eliminating that jungle pull here. It's going to be Morgana, the final one. Let's see what GenG wants to do. Back to the jungle, or will we see some more supports hit as well? Or maybe even tackle something, take it away from Yukal.
Zoe is a very common first pick, and Nocturne is already banned. So Zoe's looking safer and safer, but the Kai'Sa strategy, the potential of the funnel, and not looking at the Lulu first pick, which suggests that KT won't be funneling themselves, as Master Yi Taric after Lulu is a very common blue side strategy. GenG have been effectively funneling by playing Fly on Braum a couple of times, but only in response. They haven't been opening up with it. So we may end up with a more standard game here. The Lulu priority as a first pick is not surprising. With Zoe available, start to wonder when it falls to the first couple of picks.
All right, Lulu snatched up here. Find out what ADC ruler is going to be playing this time around, perhaps, but Tahm Kench also going to come through, so it will be that mid lane Lulu, or maybe even just the ADC Lulu for ruler if he finally wants to deviate away from standard.
I like that he is the bastion of hope for these marksman players, though. He's called out the rest of them and said, I'm still here. And speaking of still being here, we're going to see a first round Mundo coming through from Smeb. Smeb has looked pretty unconvincing recently, especially his Aurelia Rumble. As, all right, GenG, apparently we're protecting a Cogmore.
Okay.
They're going back to the only strategy that really didn't work for them, which was losing lanes with Protect the Cogmore. Let's see if this time they update it and say, hey, Cogmore's still pretty good, but we're going to actually beef up our side lanes to have a couple of areas of potential and areas of push, because they don't have priority in mid and top. This is definitely a strategy that can be held down on a snowball patch like patch 8.11.
And you think about, the later you go into the game, if the Cogmore can get those items in, one of the few ADCs that actually can shred down that Mundo pretty reliably.
AP Kai'Sa and the Cogmore are the two big ones that can really kill a frontline tank.
Well, just to make sure that he's not extra squishy, the Trundle's going to be banned away here by KT Rolster. Don't want that one in the hands of Haru. Zoe and the Taliyah going to be taken off the board here, however, from GenG. Do not want that pick for Yukal in the mid lane.
As far as we know,
or
Taliyah is still disabled when it comes to jungle. Achilles, we haven't had that on screen indicated today, but it was live yesterday, and we have a new patch next week as far as I know. So imagining that Taliyah and Karthus can still not take Smite. Regardless, Taliyah banned away, and we know that Haru prefers to go for high presence junglers. With the Camille banned away, he'll go to Xin Zhao, which a lot of people have been skipping by. This does suggest mid lane Lulu, because Lulu Xin is about the strongest invading jungle duo you can find. It'll be difficult for KT to find one stronger. They banned the Trundle away themselves as KT. What are we thinking?
Flipping through a couple different options, the Aurelia and the Yasuo, both going to be powerful picks.
Maybe we'll see.
All for the last one here is the Sejuani is going to be long hovered and locked in for score.
Now, this has been a really big pick for Yondu over the side of MVP. He's been on a lot of Sejuani, and we're going to have Yukal on the Yasuo this game. This does mean they have basically a full AD comp, a bit of magic damage from Sejuani and the Mundo, but certainly not a huge amount. GenG, can you find a winning lane against Mundo, but also a frontliner? Because having a frontline is always pretty helpful with this comp. Orin is certainly one that can fit into both those things and it'll be locked in. Orin has priority on Mundo. We saw a solo kill in this matchup in the EULCS last night. That part I don't expect, but Orin always surprises in these tank versus tank matchups. Score goes to an old favorite that certainly has to cower in fear when whimsied up Xin Zhao comes his way. But if he can farm, if he can stay at parity, you get the strong engage from the Sejuani that's kind of been lacking in this current meta from the jungle.
Aside from the Mundo and Jhin coming in, I mean, this could be a spring draft, honestly.
Yeah.
Looking pretty standard. The Yasuo, bit concerned for Yukal because he's going to be really self-reliant with this pick. There's not that much setup, just going to be the knock-up coming in from the Rakan for him to play off of with that last breath. So really needs to be landing those tornadoes to get those massive ults in.
But we're opening up standard lanes. Some people out there are excited. This one's probably going to go long because GenG going to need some time to truly get value out of the Cogmore Lulu, the BFS forever. Juggermore probably going to be in full effect here. Haru going to be the one to try to really bridge the gap. If Haru gets a 3-0 lead, then suddenly can't go near where the Xin Zhao is, where's Xin Zhao. At the same time, Cogmore is farming up safely. Whereas with the side of KT, they're going to be all about pressure. They're going to see if they can keep the pressure up, but can Beyond, or I say Beyond, but Sejuani get his way like Beyond all the way to level 6 with Score, making his big reintroduction to the roster.
Well, it's all really going to be hinging on Haru there with that Xin Zhao. If he can get ahead, they might just spiral out of control very swiftly for KT. They might not be able to claw their way back in. We'll see if Score, the veteran, the de facto veteran here in the LCK, if he can pull it off, if he can outthink Haru here on the Rift. KT needs to bounce back. Let's see if they can start it off with a win here in game number 1.
소환사의 협곡에
And here we are on Summoner's Rift yet again. A week later, it's good to be back yet again.
Already 23rd best of 3 of the season. Achilles, that is the reality
your heart.
of our very compressed schedule. We play a lot of League of Legos. These guys probably have a lot to talk about. KT and GenG fans in the audience.
Sitting next to each other.
We're still filling up. It is 5 p.m. on a Saturday here in Korea, but these are two very well-supported teams. GenG, we've always kind of lamented how they haven't got as big a Korean fan base as you might expect with the fact that they are world champions, but winning usually does a bit of help there. So if you are a GenG fan, you're probably more motivated to come down to Sangam and watch them play. Meanwhile, KT, you know, their fans are waiting to find an up, because they've been a bit of a downer in the last 3 series. Score's back, Yukal's on the Yasuo, but the full AD nature and the fact that GenG want to go late means that we're probably going to see Cuvée with quite the armor stack if this game goes late.
Yeah, we'll see what he wants to pick up. Thornmail might not be a terrible idea here in this one. See if he can also get some solo kills there. On a Smeb, probably going to be extra difficult in this matchup. But Cuvée might just be able to pull it off for now. Just going to be the standard lane coming through.
Shows some pretty damning numbers for the mid lane matchup as Yukal has struggled. I think even in teamfights outside of laning, he famously was too far up on the Lulu in some of their important matches and was caught. For a guy who debuted so strong, and when it was announced that Pawn wouldn't be on the starting roster, it seemed like Yukal would be playing, 9 out of 10 games at minimum. It was surreal to see him have a bit of a kind of rookie fall after having such a high of a debut. Haru's in vision, but going to pick up the bot side Scuttle Crab. It's going to be a trade though. The top side Scuttle Crab hasn't been claimed yet, so I guess the trade not confirmed just yet, but a ward is there from KT.
Yeah, he could just cut his way straight up the river and try to take that one.
Oh, he just wants to take a Sejuani right now. He wants to get in the face of
the hunt.
Score.
He wants some pork. He wants a poro this time. I don't know what you would call that meat.
Tasty. It looks like it would be tasty. Am I wrong? All right, if they would have served you up poro, would you eat it?
I gotta see what it looks like once the fur comes off, but here we go. Right now he's sitting in the brush. Looks like he's just gonna be going for 3 calls. They wait for the setup, but not gonna be able to get the blade caller to land, so not gonna find the route.
Very unlikely gank to be successful because there's no incentive for Tahm Kench not to take Devour at level 1 or level 2. So just backs away. Honestly, Score's job is, where is Xin Zhao gonna be till I'm level 6? I don't want to be there. So being away from the enemy jungler so far has treated him very well. That does mean, though, because he's been defensively shadowing, it looks like Scuttle priority will be there for Xin Zhao unless we get a multiple-man collapse.
Yep, they're starting to push in. Score going to spot him out. Control ward comes down, even Smeb joining in the battle. So will just be that Scuttle Crab trade coming in favor of KT. So they pick that one up, and now Score can safely take the blue buff.
Don't try this at home, Sejuani players. If you do that in solo queue, no one backs you up, and Xin Zhao kills you and gets the Scuttle Crab. But KT have always been very good at playing around Score. Turns out, when you've been playing since the first tournament ever run by OGN, the OGN Invitationals, even before that first champion spring, you have a lot of sway when it comes to telling people what to do.
Especially given that he is also one of the older players that we do have here in the LCK.
The
so
eldest.
That young status, so.
We lost Marin, so
That's right,
he's now the eldest player. Not too many that go over the 25 years of age and Western age. Trace was one of them back in the day, now of course a World Championship coach.
And it makes sense, knowing that Trace is the coach here on the side of GenG, it really makes sense why they're excelling in this meta, because he was always a bit of an anomaly for us here in the LCK.
And now he's the biggest madman. He's playing Juggernaut in a snowball meta. Could it be any more crazy? A comp that is usually centered around a couple of items on a laning champion that can struggle. Well, as Deft Armada, it is notable that this is pretty far away from Mordekaiser and friends, going for the Lovers bot lane duo. We haven't seen much of Rakan and Zaya.
I'm sure a lot of KT fans are happy to see that Mordekaiser not here for Deft.
I mean, you know, some of his flank Mordekaiser plays, which I say on purpose there in terms of how I communicated it, were questionable. So I think marksman for Deft is probably a thing you would like for KT Rolster.
Yeah. It's a good look so far. But for now, no one really going to have any advantage. We're pretty much just tying across the board. No objectives coming through yet, as it's an Ocean Drake start, so not going to be the highest priority for either of these junglers. It's mostly just going to be the battle over the Scuttle Crabs for now until somebody manages to find a first blood. Score's going to be looking for it, but can't get in close enough. He's not level 6 yet. So I'm not going to be seeing that Glacial Prison come through.
Can start to see the reality of going for Yasuo into Lulu. Laning phase against Ignite. Lulu is very rough. He also dodged lane to go and help with the Scuttle Crab, so in general, Yukal's got no backup from his jungler. It is a Sejuani into a Xin Zhao, so that was predictable for Yukal, but accordingly, he's had to play very defensive, knowing he has no backup and does not have first rotation from his jungler. And the cost is about 2.5 minion waves, which is pretty significant, being 30 farm at 6 minutes in.
Fly still having an excellent season thus far. Score's going to come over the backside of the pit. I don't think he's been spotted yet. Scuttle Crab going low, but Smite's there, so Haru will be able to take that one away.
He's up in levels because he hasn't been spending as much time just invading to find out information, but it's a bit of a dog matchup. It's one where you're on the back foot. You're basically saying, hey, Xin Zhao, I'd like it to be level 6, please. So in general, he used his Q over the wall. He waited the cooldown, investigated whether he could get a smite, and then backed away. So very much just looking for the most he can get while never actually being in audacious charge range of the Xin Zhao. And top lane is a very interactive matchup.
Yep. Look at this. Look at the way that they walk back and forth. Oh, he threw a cleaver. And then he headbutted one.
It's a free farm lane for the Mundo if he doesn't actually opt into any trades against QV. Again, in the EU LCS, we saw Itachi get solo killed in this matchup, and obviously Ornn trades at level 5 can be pretty threatening, but you just hang back. If you give away a bit of lane control to the Ornn, you're just fine as the Mundo.
I think I might actually rather watch Grass Grower paint dry than watch that top lane matchup.
Well, have we got other lanes for you? A farm lane, a bot lane, and a Yasuo getting zoned.
It's just so wonderful. Bring back the fiesta.
Well, there's always game 2.
Let's see what happens.
Casey
Step right
will
now.
find
He's
a way.
playing pretty far forward. A nice little chunk of damage there onto Ruler. Takes him down to about half HP.
Ruler hasn't gone for a laning keystone here, but of course, a lot less people going fleet footwork after the multitude of nerfs towards lane sustain on range champions. He'll score walk up. He will be spotted.
Yep, vision going to be there. And not going to be a long enough range on that Glacial Prison to try to throw it through the wall, let alone land it. So now just going to take a nice little trek here up the river where Haru is waiting nearby. Control ward comes down, but Score can just clear that one out immediately.
Score continues to invade. KT making a team rotation. They're rotating first. Deft is the only one of the bot laners who are level 6, but I imagine the rest of GenG are very close. For now, just being able to get the blue buff started, and I imagine transferred over to the Lulu.
Nope.
Now Haru's going to take it for himself. He still wants to keep fighting, and he wants the blue buff to make these strong invades stick.
Definitely going to be going greedy here so far.
Doesn't.
Self-reliant
he did
enough
spot
here.
it. Okay.
Yeah, just gets the one tap in though. You can get that one.
But even the information of knowing it was there was important, as Score is still supplanting the control ward vision bot side and trying to make things happen. Yukal keeping him the similar amount of CS disadvantage, as Score is not spotted till now on the ward that was put down by GenG.
Lulu is going to be perfectly fine. Could just go ahead, polymorph Score if he needs to, speed himself up and just get out of there. So still not going to be seeing any real ganks coming through, just the minor amount of skirmishing here in the bottom lane. Just a couple auto attacks, sprint back and forth, occasional tongue lash out from Court JJ.
Fly himself has a lot of lane presence, but hasn't really transferred it into anything else. It is still early, and slowing down Yasuo's farm is probably a fine objective for the Lulu with Ignite to play. Seems like the power farm is going to happen top side, as that's usually what happens when you have an AoE ability. You leash both the blue buff and the Gromp and power farm the two. Doesn't need to give away the blue buff. It's a Yasuo mid lane, so maybe late game to the Xayah, but otherwise, Score gets a bit of farm and a bit of a cathartic moment for the junglers. Junglers watching this at home just saw second blue buff go to both junglers. That does not happen very often.
Yeah. Extremely rare if you're, in solo queue, even if you have a Yasuo mid laner. I'm sure he's going to be crying out for the blue buff just because he needs that CDR.
Yeah, the win wall needed that 2 seconds earlier.
Well, now Haru coming down. Spotted out by Control Ward. Man, the vision's so good for both of these teams. We're just not going to get any action.
GenG kind of confirmed that when they went for the Kog'Maw in the first round. This is what the Ezreal ban provokes. Now we have an extra piece of information. KT went for Sejuani jungle, so they had their own champion who was looking to dissuade action, and it was threatened, and now we get the reality. Hooray, standard lanes.
A favorite. Not even the Ocean Drake going to be started up yet, but now scores into the bottom lane to get the lockdown there, where JJ manages to get the Devour, but Ruler just has a fraction of a health bar left, and he will go down. First blood over to KT, and Core JJ will be taken out as well. 2 kills going through, 1 to the Sejuani, 1 to that Xayah, and KT suddenly explode fourth and find a 1,000 gold lead.
That was some delightful synergy shown by the KT squad. Perfect engage from Mata. Good choice of ultimate there, Glacial Prison onto the Tahm Kench as the Devour was down. They'd already done so much damage to Ruler, he was going to die whatever buttons he pressed. That's why they keep all their flashes up, and GenG say, well, that was a nice gank. Feel bad about it, but there's nothing they could do. Smeg probably could have cancelled his teleport in hindsight, but he walks top, he loses what? Just a bit of a minion wave. He's doing just fine, very competitive against his opponent. Nice play, KT Rolster.
Yeah, just going to be a couple CS behind here in the end, so not significant really at all for him to go down to that bottom side of the map. Cube just going to have that TP up faster.
Hey, look at some itemization here, Achilles. Still on 8.11, so no hotfix to the Stormrazor, but this is the one item power spike for AD carries that really no one else has been looking at. Can consider this item on champions like Xayah. Can consider it on someone like a Jhin as well. And for that critical strike on the Stormrazor, and just basically that first auto trade is going to be insanely bad for Ruler, who has no lifesteal. You could have gone Blade of the Ruined King first, but you weren't expecting the Stormrazor. And now if you're Ruler, you really wish you went Bilgewater, because every time you take even just a single auto, it's going to hurt, and you have no lifesteal to get through it.
Yeah, no real sustain to be coming through.
This item is best as a surprise because we see a lot of champions itemize early lifesteal to answer strong lanes or bruisers or mages. Now, you're not expecting the Stormrazor, you see it and it's really like, crap, I actually am not ready for answering this in lane. You probably have to give up minions to respect this, and you were already kind of outgunned in the early game by Deft and Mata and the Lovers bot lane. So nice little adaptation from Deft, and you can see Ruler and Core JJ are like, I hope this minion wave pushes soon.
Gonna have to use Devour as soon as every auto attack starts flying through the air. Even a Vamp Scepter, something like that, would make Ruler feel a lot more comfortable in the matchup now. Mata playing forward, hiding in the brush, just threatening to go in with that grand entrance. And Ruler has not autoed anything in about 40 seconds now.
He can't. He just nothing he can do. He's so outgunned in terms of itemization. Even with summoners up, he's being zoned. Really like this by KT. It's first time this season they've impressed me with something a bit new and something a bit different. Nice little on-the-fly call, and these are the sort of adaptations you'll see from Deft playing an AD carry that is so much harder to see when he's playing mages or tanks or Mordekaiser. It's why we kind of cry out for especially the Teddys and Defts of the world, these insanely mechanically talented players. Just play what you're good at. It may not be as good as before, but problem solve your way through with things like a Stormrazor, and good stuff can happen.
Yeah. Score now starting up the Rift Herald. Be it Dragon and Herald over to them. Infernal going to be the next one here as that Ocean is taken. KT still looking to push forward here, try to close out this game very quickly, which they need to do before Ruler can really come online as that Cogball. So Herald's going to be taken. That can help them knock down the first tower of the game. See where they want to target.
All about how much they can make happen before this is a 45,000 gold game, before there are really a lot of items loaded onto the side of GenG. Is it impossible for them to win the late game? No, there is definitely the possibility. They themselves have a marksman as well. Yasuo can do pretty dirty things in a team fight, even just canceling out 1.5 seconds worth of auto attacks from the Kog'Maw with the wind wall can situationally be very, very powerful. Mundo and Zone as well. but really you want to keep the pressure up. You play against Juggermore like you play against Master Yi Taric or a funnel strategy. You try to create map pressure, and definitely the first Drake and the first Rift Herald of the game is a good sign of map pressure from KT.
So far, good decision for KT to put Score back into the starting roster. Ganks finally work out there into that bottom side. So 2-0, 1,000 gold up with that Ocean Dragon. Rift Herald's still going to be sitting in the inventory for the Sejuani so far. See where he wants to target that one out. Probably into the bottom lane where the turret has already taken a decent chunk of damage. Deft and Mata right now, they have a couple escapes to their names and they're quite far ahead. So if they have to play forward in a lane, it's probably going to be more comfortable for them compared to this Yasuo who has still been denied a lot of CS.
KJ pushing up, Ragebait now there for Rolster, so suddenly there are trades he wins, situationally. Jungle can consider playing bot side now as well, because ganking for a lane with some of a Rageblade is very different to ganking for a lane where the Rageblade is complete. Bot lane control will matter more in a couple of minutes when that Infernal Drake has spawned, but action so far has been bot lane, and if we remember, if tanks are in the top lane and we have AD carry support in the bot lane, it's usually about how many people can show up first in the bot lane. That is the return of the bot lane meta.
Self-Grab Vision going to expire, ward cleared out. Yukal going aggressive, that's going to be the last breath into the mid lane as Fly goes down to about half HP, makes it back underneath the turret there. One last little tag. And
now you summon the Rift Herald because Lulu is going to be DPS'd out. That could have been the choice, but they notice with their wards that Xin Zhao's already there. It's going to be a defensive choice instead. That was one Rift Herald option that wasn't used. Still 50% duration, so wasn't necessitated just yet.
Shooting down towards the bottom side of the map, so I wonder if that's going to be the play.
Well, the standard way for KT to win in the past, Kilios, you and I were front row seat for most of them. Get Mada onto the map with the first turret in the bot lane, and he will make the plays happen. So if mid lane isn't necessary, bot lane is usually the prototype for KT.
Already going to get cleared out. Yeah, this should be where they summon it. Score just making sure that all is well and safe. Looks like he'll even get the Scuttle Crab first before they try to knock this one down.
Both of options when the Kog'Maw, as we mentioned, has no sustain, no fleet footwork on the Kog'Maw, doubling down on the lethal tempo and how strong those team fights will become very, very early. Allows them to cheat the item curve with a little bit less attack speed. Here we go.
Yep, get summoned up. Turret's already taking quite a bit of damage.
Yasuo walks down.
JJ already kiting their way back. Tower's at half HP before the charge comes in. This is just going to execute it here. First brick does go over to KT, now up 2,000 gold just about. Going to get taken. JJ trying to dissuade them, but the tongue lash is only going to do so much, and Haru is still quite far away.
The irony is not lost on me that I summoned everyone to talk about the immaculate masterclass of KT Rolster against BBQ, ironically, in the post-game thread, and it's been an immaculate masterclass of an 18 minutes from KT Rolster. Super clean. Sejuani was very well defensively played in the early game by Score while he was weak, and then as he got stronger, they made some great map moves. The bot lane gank was flawless, and now the Rift Herald play was well thought out and unlocks Mata on the map. They've even got an AD carry. KT Rolster, where you been?
Finally putting the pieces of the puzzle together here on 8-11. But they almost threw versus BBQ Papa Smithy, so
it's early game with Score. They always win those.
They can absolutely still ruin this masterclass of an immaculate start.
In KT we trust.
Sometimes. We'll see. Infernal Drake going to be up. This is going to be probably the stage for one of our first fights. You can see Cube has already roamed down, doesn't even want to have to wait for the TP.
Defensive TP
going to channel his, so now Cube's going to be cut off from the squad. Horn's going to be ready. That's going to be the glacial prison coming down. 3-man knock up into the last breath. Coming through. Mata setting it up, but no one's going to die yet. Haru going to go low. Flashes inside. He'll go gold. And in the meantime, it's going to be Yukal going down first, but they quickly trade back as the Xin Zhao dies. Fly desperately just trying to sprint his way away, trying to slow them up, but Mundo does not care. They're going to go ahead and blow the stopwatches. He'll dash to the side. The Devourer rather going to come through. Big knock up from Cube as GenG tries to retreat. So far, just going to be that 1-for-1 coming in. Jungler for mid. Dragon's still up. It looks like these squads are going to go their separate way out of the bottom lane.
Couldn't have been a cleaner engage, but the disengage from GenG was strong. Even with the knock up into last breath, the items are not there. Good exhaust timing from Core JJ as well. Ruler has back canceled.
Gotta get out of there. He's still pushing forward. Death's here on the side. Full HP. Ruler slowed up. Devourer comes through. He is chunked down low, might have to blow the flash, because remember, there's not a tower here. Cube gonna get clipped by that grand entrance. Dashes away, but he's still so low. It seems like this is gonna be the sacrificial Ornn coming in. GenG tries to save his life, but cannot do so, but now they're looking for a re-engage.
They can't disengage.
Haru and FLICKR still here.
They can't disengage. Haru's given them the movement speed.
Pushing forward, Ruler takes a lot of damage. Deft almost just pops the Kog'Maw. Now they have to peel back yet again, and KT, they still have score here. He's still rather healthy. They might just be able to go back onto the Infernal.
You gotta love Teamfight to that, where both sets of fans are clenching. Probably the players clench at the same time, not knowing which way it'll go. After such a picture-perfect engage, the disengage begins. Kog'Maw starts raining in damage. All the items are not there. The situation is not solved, but this was epic. The engage, and of course Mata predicts exactly what's going to happen. The Devour onto the Kog'Maw. It can't be a better wombo, but very quickly, Achilles, as you can see, the wombo started to not matter as Yukar went down first.
Yeah, good Devour there from GenG. Good target selection, so they get rid of that pesky Yasuo, and it goes so long that everybody can respawn, rejoin. Fly even makes it back to base. Gets healed up and comes back down into the bottom side fast enough before this fight has gone down. But this was really just an odd decision from GenG. They had the recalls going up. They decided to stick around because they're afraid of that Infernal going over to KT, but in the end, it costs them all the same.
It was a pretty greedy recall, is what you'd say. The spot where they recalled is what baited them all to have this conga line coming down. It was a long team fight, as you can see, a minute 20 on the team fight here. Damage dealt in that team fight. Most of it going the way of the 80 carry on the side of KT, most of it going to Xayah. She's got 2 items. Now, while we did praise the Stormrazor first item, the kind of trade-off you make is that Stormrazor's effectiveness goes down as you finish more itemization. Doesn't fit into a standard IE build, as well as the Essence Reaver Zeal item IE did in the past, but doesn't mean necessarily there's any drop-off of power when you have 3 kills and a BF sword on top of your second item at 21 minutes.
Yeah, he's going to be in a really nice spot. Now play into the top side. Looking at evade here, GenG. Might just be losing out on their second turn of the game. Ended up Minion. Get a little bit of damage in, but overall, tower's just going to get chunked down to about half.
Wondering about the build from the Kog'Maw. It's the I need to kill the super tank in my face build of the double on-hit HP damage from the Eventual Blade. Chasing in his Ruler, he's at the front, Juggermaw style.
Gonna get the damage in, not gonna get popped up, flashes over before that Blade Caller comes in, so will not get rooted. Now they're looking to trade back. Haru dashing in, tries to slow up score, takes a bit of damage here, as Ruler just keeps raining down from above with the ult. No kills to be found.
Smeb spotted on the flank, so they all back away. Juve stayed mid lane, so getting more farm, punishing the play from Smeb. Not gonna be the biggest consequence, but still very, very notable. Juggernaut is when the Kog'Maw is with the shields and the speed in the front. That's what we were seeing at that particular time in the game. We'll lose this turret, so 2 teams running at each other. It actually goes to GenG this time because Rolla finds effective safety.
Still down by about 2.3 thousand gold though. GenG trying to claw it back. That's going to be the Blade of the Ruined King completed. Another dagger to come in for Ruler. We'll see if it's going to be the Hurricane builds for this Kog'Maw.
Teamfights are going to be so different depending on whether Ruler can get the Phantom hit from the Rage Blade up before he's dived by Mundo and Sejuani, or if he can't. If it's just, say, in the open or around a Baron where there is nothing to auto-attack, you really want to have the double effect of the Blade of the Ruined King as often as possible, because shredding Mundo and Sejuani is an exercise in frustration, but it is something a Kog'Maw can do. It's going to be very different when it comes to Mundo's ability to tank compared to other Mundo games we've seen. Adaptive Helm might have to be considered. You already see Spirit Visage into Adaptive Helm, and Warmog seems to be the build that Mundo is going. There's going to be physical damage on the Blade of the Ruined King, and answer the W damage otherwise, but itemization so much trickier against a Kog'Maw.
4-1 Mata looking to clear out some vision, but also constantly on the hunt looking for another fight setup here for his team. So far, it's been very good for him on the Rakan. That slight miss in the top lane off by, a quarter of a Teemo, as you would put it. It does allow for Ruler to get away. But it's good to see bloodthirsty Mata.
He's found the Rakan. He's found a bit more open map to deal with. Doesn't have to be next to his bruiser anymore. Mordekai's a value biggest when he has a friend next to him. It's a bit of pass-through damage for now. Feels like we're so close to another huge team fight, so we trade off consistent kills for stuff like this.
Yeah, you can see even Smeb here with the Dr. Mundo just going to get chunked out. He's got the Warmogs, though.
Watch the buff bar whenever Kog'Maw's on the game. You saw 6 stacks of the Rage Blade. That's when you know that the pain is really going to come in. Looking over at some of the stats here for Smeb. He has indexed very heavily on magic resist, 144 this early into the game. Everyone looks a bit more fallible with a Kog'Maw in the game, that's for sure.
Trying to hold on to this tower here. In the mid lane, GenG able to keep it for the moment, but it has taken quite a bit of damage. Now Cuvée, oh, he's going to be found by 3 members. The dash comes in, looking for the root. Missile Voyage now coming through. Glacial Prison has been used, but it's just going to be a disengage from KT.
Ends up being a better ult trade for GenG than it does for the side of KT, as they use 2. Mana didn't flash for it, so at least that's still there to threaten the Kog'Maw later into the game. Getting anything on CoreJJ's biggest. Speaking of CoreJJ.
Yeah, now he's going to have to flash away, so they trade it right back. Might not be an ultimate, but they go ahead and get the flash away from that Tahm Kench, which means he can't close the gap to protect Ruler.
A lot happening, but doing this means, as you mentioned, Achilles, KT has zoned away from their mid lane turret, even through Wind Wall. Takes a while for them to get into position. KT kite down, GenG go mid. In the end, GenG trade up, and now suddenly it's less than 3,000 gold lead.
Keeping this one as best as they possibly can.
Yukai's gone
Dragon
for,
getting ready to come up in 10 seconds.
Yukai's gone for the I'm going to get exhausted build and gone for Sterix quite early. No Infinity Edge yet. A lot more players are going for non-IE builds, given that IE is tricky to build, and there's a lot of fall-off just building 2 BF swords and waiting for an expensive recipe. But Yukai will be, of course, slowed down. There's a lot of answers to the Last Breath and a Yasuo in team fights. They do end up getting the Drake, and it is 3 Drakes, so there'll be 1 more spawning before the Elder. For the side of GenG, they've kept their turrets up. They haven't lost 3 turrets per 26 minutes. Their Kog'Maw is a tank slayer already into this game. They're not losing Baron control either. I think GenG are very comfortable at the juncture they find themselves in.
Yep, just got all vision cleared out here into the top side. Haru is pushing forward, looking to steal away the blue buff. Be able to do so. That's going to be the go button. Glacial Prison down in onto Ruler. He gets devoured immediately here. CoreJJ though now going to be locked up. Gets taken down as Death finds the first kill, and Haru is just going to be an afterthought. He gets melted, and everybody from GenG is just annihilated here by this Xayah. A triple kill over to Death, and KT just found a Baron.
We've seen engages before, but the engage timing was beautiful to the point where Mundo flashes over the fat wall just to get into the fight, and it didn't matter that the Ornn Horn was there because the Ornn wasn't actually physically present. They just stood on top of the front line. Haru burns to death to the burning agony, and that's Baron KT Rolster.
Good God, they just wanted to fight at the blue buff, and suddenly KT, a Baron just falls into their lap. GenG just frontlining with the Kog'Maw.
Ruler walks up, and he doesn't have vision on Sejuani or Yasuo. They come from the side, and that means already he's out of position. The Wind Wall cuts off the beginning of the damage, and the presence from Smeb just to flash in. Very good decision from him after a season that's been highlighted by some mistakes from Smeb. Cuvée has a full health bar, but that matters nothing. Well done, KT Rolster.
You have to think here, 28 minutes. We'll see a lot of games finish before this point. Now with the Baron in hand, KT might just be able to close this one out from here. Unless Ruler can really show us some stunning heroics on this Kog'Maw.
And it's still possible. There is still the late game dream here for the side of GenG, but late game and the current state of the game are quite disconnected. When you see IE is now onto Xayah as well. She may have a little bit of negative scaling when it comes to IE Stormraiser and late game builds, but she's bridged the gap kind of alone. She's been the Xinjiao for the team of KT in terms of letting them get to a spot where Yasuo slowly going to start building items. Deft is insanely massive, vindicating my course for please anything 80 carries marksman on Deft. It's so obvious. All right, Jenna, you're the next one. More marksman on Teddy, please. Nice to see.
What's that Siri you say?
We just have KT Rolster with 5 players who have command of their champion and can play to their maximum ability with a lot of experience, and that's what KT should be focusing on. KT now opening up a goal of about 8,000, and you're wondering when the next big engage from Mada will be.
Well, they're just going to go over, look at the Fly. Glacial Prison's going to go wide, but they have the lockdown here on the Fly. He does not stand a chance. He gets taken out. Devour in to try to keep Haru alive. Nearly falls down yet again, but that's going to be the first inhibitor going over to KT, and honestly, they might just be able to even push this one home from here. Bannered up, Ban and Minion here in the top side. Mata plays in the front, dashes back. If they can get depth onto these towers, they are going to melt.
Certainly can. They're trying to zone for him right now, focusing on the structure.
And then the half ruler as well, getting jumped on the devours there. GenG retreating back over to the fountain. Haru chunked out. They have to just sit in here and try to take the fight back.
Time is not the longest. Banner minion continues to
Last
hit.
breath connects it on the ruler, flashes away, makes it back over to the fountain, but now the Nexus is going to be exposed, and Smev and Score just sitting on top of this one. They manage to find the one kill, but they can't stop KT. They get game one, 9-2. Very slow to start, but when it took off, it exploded in KT's favor. They pick up a much-needed win, and that's got to be a good feeling.
KT fans, I'm sure this is ecstasy. After seeing their team meander for the majority of summer season, when they're called upon, when they're facing a team who's currently 4-0 undefeated in best of series, KT actually have by far their best performance of the season. With Score back in the line, they're so much more squared up. They seem to understand each other's roles a bit more clearly. The bot lane gank was beautiful. Their engages in general were great. Xayah Rakan worked a treat as Mata was making the engage and Deft was pumping out the consistent damage. And KSV, or now GenG, look rocked. They look like they were just surprised by what they saw. And if you're doing a scouting based on what was played in the LCK, you're surprised by this KT.
Seems like GenG, they can play this standard stuff into the Fiesta picks, but when it comes down to standard on both sides, the past comes back and they lose to KT yet again.
And is standard Ezreal standard, or is standard everything around marksman? Because that's the kind of interesting point. They've largely been playing the Ezreal banned away this time. Will most certainly be banned on red side, or first picked away, you'd imagine, by another pretty good Ezreal player in Deft. So suddenly, have we found out that GenG only once again have a handful of strategies, or is it just a single game that's a counterpoint to the past? Kog'Maw put out big damage, largely on Mundo and Sejuani. That's who he was able to hit. He had a build for shredding tanks, so big Kog'Maw damage, but a 30-minute victory for KT.
Yeah, big Kog'Maw damage. Big damage there from the Xayah, but much more impactful. Deft was the one walking away with the kills at the end of the day. Beautifully done from KT. A breath of fresh air at last for this squad that's currently resting in 7th place. Already first, going to be denied from GenG, even if they can turn around and win the next 2 games. Cannot tie up Griffin. That's game 1 in the books. KT with a victory. We'll see if they can get the 2-0, the very unexpected one, or if GenG will bounce back and take us to game 3.